The Korean War veterans, these guys are all my friends. So thanks for coming out today. And Steve was a Vietnam vet. I've been hanging out with these guys the past several months. And Charlie's, the Chosin Reservoir, he was in that. And he saved a lot of guys. And I asked him to share how he saved. He got quite an award. He can tell you about it too as well. So Charlie, if you'd be so kind to indulge these students in your story. It's a great story.
Well, we were up at the Chosin Reservoir, and we were hit by the Chinese the first night we were there. Second night, third night, we decided to take off and try and join the rest of the our combat team down at an inlet to the reservoir, and a very undefensible area, and found they had been pretty well decimated. Radios did not work in that weather, and at that time. So we had no communication, even though we were only about 12 miles away from where the Marines were at. And we stayed there for two more days, and got hit so bad. We had so many wounded. Almost all, and I say almost all, of our officers were either killed or were so badly wounded they could not even mobilize themselves at all. So we decided we would try and make a run with our trucks to try and make it to where the Marines were at, 12 miles away. And we took all our trucks and emptied them and put the wounded in there. Now the wounded were not just wounded people who had wounds. These were people who could not move. These were people who were done in. They could not move their legs or feet. We had 22 truckloads of them. 22 truckloads of them. We left there like about 1 o'clock in the afternoon to try and break through the Chinese that had surrounded us. And the weather was bad, but it was, so as soon as it cleared a little bit, we had air support from Marines from aircraft carriers, and we could contact by radio when they would fly over us. And we'd tell them where we needed them to help us with strafing or napalm. Well, one of our units got hit with some of our own napalm, and 27 of our guys ended up being killed from our own napalm. Now napalm, I don't know if you guys know what napalm is. It's a gasoline that would saturate your body and burns. It burns. There's nothing left of you. I got a friend here in Rockford, doesn't live too far from where we're at right now. His uncle was one of them that got napalmed. And I told him, I says, you will never get a killed in action because there's no body left. You never get a killed in action, there's no body left. You'll always be missing in action. So to this day, 69 years later, that's the true story of that. Well, anyhow, we tried to get out of there, go to 12 miles to where the Marines were. They had no idea what our situation was. because of the radio situation. And they kept building roadblocks to keep us from getting through. They just wanted to annihilate us. All we were trying to do was get our 22 truckloads of wounded plus the rest of us that could possibly maneuver to get through to the Marines. That's all we wanted to do. We started 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Nighttime came there about 4:30 in the afternoon. Because of the snow, ice, it was almost 35 or 40 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. Think of the weather that you've been through. You've never seen weather like that. Believe me, you haven't. Hope you never ever do. It is awful weather. It's Siberia. Really, up there, it was Siberia. And so we tried to break the roadblocks as much as we could. Our commanding officer got killed, and there were very few. In fact, there were probably no officers left that were able to even get around. So finally, I had a major there who had both legs shot out from under him. I mean, he had legs, but they were unusable. And he said to me, he says, Geb, he says, why don't we go across the ice and try to get to the Marines? Well, I looked at my carbine. I had 3 rounds of ammunition left. That's all there was. I was going to do no good. He could do no good. So we left. I helped drag him across the ice. And that was probably 6, 8 hours, 9 hours to get to where the Marines were. We got to where the Marines were, and a Marine colonel looked at us and he said, "You left your people behind. We don't do that." And he chastised us for doing that, for leaving the rest of our people behind. And I mean, there was nothing we could do except stay there and die. So anyhow, I came back and a bunch of us got into warming tents. That's where you got a little bit of heat and you can gradually sort of warm up. My feet, my hands, my cheeks were just stumps, just like they were hard, like you'd scrape wood. Anyhow, I warmed up enough, and I went back out there to see if there anybody else that I knew had come back from there, and there was a Marine motor pool officer there, and I got talking to him, and I says, any way of getting the trucks over there to try and see if we could pick up some of the guys that were left behind, or guys that are left out on the ice yet. And he said, well, I got to keep those trucks running in this cold weather. He says, but he says, I can't afford to lose any men. He says, if you could get some nuts to go along with you, he said, I'll try and take you out far enough to where maybe you can do something. I went back to the warming tents, came back to this motor pool officer, and I said, I found 46 nuts to go along with me. 46 guys. You know, if you were to ask anybody right in this room right now, would you go back out there into that? I doubt if you get one person. I have 46 of them. I didn't have to do no sales job. These guys, they were Americans. We're sticking together. God made us all one. They wanted to help. They came. The motor pool officer got us guys to ride shotgun with the drivers even. Took us a couple of miles from the other shore over there. And we got out, went over to where our convoy had been stuck. Yeah, they found a lot of the guys were dead in the trucks. We found some that were still alive yet. 84 of them. We brought back 84 Americans who could now, no matter what, at least they would at least die with the Americans. They weren't going to be left behind. I don't know what all happened to all of them. They may have all died. I have no idea. But we brought 84 of them back. The nicest thing was, encouragement that I got, was when we did come back, that Marine Colonel, as we came back, realized what we had done. He stood there and saluted me. I was just an Army sergeant. He didn't even know what rank I was. Saluted me and says, "You men are Marines." That was an honor. Because the Marines thing is, they don't leave. They're wounded or they're dead behind. And that's why he was chastised us in the first place. And we came back. As a result of that, I was bestowed later on, a few years later on, I was bestowed the honor of receiving the Distinguished Service Cross. And but the thing was we saved that many more. Later on, a few hours later on, I understand I'd collapsed. They thought I had the flu, and they wanted to separate me from any of the rest of the guys that are wounded, and they put me so that I would be evacuated first chance by plane to Japan, which I did later on. But that was my experience at the Chosin Reservoir. It was a horrible situation, but I tell you something. Those men that were there were all heroes. They were the heroes. They're veterans you can be proud of.
Well said. Well said. Tell these kids what freedom means to you.
Freedom means to do what you really would like to do, to be able to express yourself and to move around and do the work you'd like to do, or enjoy life as you would like to.
What does the flag mean to you, the American flag?
The American flag is the greatest thing that flies. Believe me, if you are out somewhere, it's just like before I came here now, they were laying the wreath at the tomb of the unknown this morning. I had tears. The flag means to me. It means everything. So what we should believe. This is our country. We make it. We make this country.
Can we give him a hand? God bless you. Thank you.